Right, welcome back to 2025. We're looking at question B3. This is a perspective question. So the image on the right shows a laundry kiosk. Okay, figure B3 shows the plan and elevation of a similar kiosk. The pictorial view of the kiosk is shown. So here's our pictorial view. This is what we're aiming to produce. Surface B is a solar panel. So surface B here, right, is a solar panel. And it's inclined at 15 degrees to the horizontal plane. So that angle in there would be 15 degrees if we were looking directly at it. So part A, they want us to draw the given plan. Okay, so our plan here, we want to draw that. Okay, so it's a rectangular surface. So let's just take the measurements as we're given, because you can see here scale 1:1. So all these measurements we don't need to change them. It's going to be exactly that. So we've got 20, 70, and 45. So 20 and 70, 70 and 45. So that's a total of 135. And then we've got 30 and 45. 30 and 45, that's 75. It's just about fitting on the camera for you. Okay, so that's my outline. Okay, so that's the rectangular outline. Now we're going to have a hidden detail line running across at that 30 mark. And we're going to have our 70 and 45. All right, and then we don't have that measurement, but we know that if we join diagonal to diagonal, we'll pick up that point there. So diagonal to diagonal, and that's giving me that position. All right, and that's my solar panel. So our point C there. Okay, and that's our surface B. I don't need to label that. Okay, now, just because I know it's going to be coming later, okay, all these measurements, they're all on this inside surface. Okay, so I'm actually going to mark them off there. So just draw this line lightly so I can have something to mark them on. And we're going, what? From the left, we're going 10. Plus 35 is 45. It's actually bang on there, yeah. And another 10 plus 30 plus 10, 20, which is there, that's fine. 20 left, great. Okay, so some of those are just marked off for later. All right, so that's my plan drawn. Okay, make a perspective drawing of the kiosk given the following. The spectator, point S, is 130 away from A. Right, the picture plane is touching A, so touching off of A here. All right, so let's start with that. So spectator is 60 degrees. And we're measuring away 130. So that's S, my spectator. Okay, picture plane's there at a picture plane touching a horizon line is 105 millimeters above the ground line. Use an auxiliary vanishing point to determine the surface B of the perspective drawing. Okay, so our setup for these questions is always going to be the same. So let's go for that, right? Outside point, join back to spectator. Outside point, join back to spectator. Okay, we want to find the direction we're viewing, so we need to bisect that angle. Okay, so compass, swing an arc, keep the same distance arc, swing it twice, and we have the direction that we're viewing. Okay, our spectator will be at 90 degrees to that. Okay, and they tell us in the question it's touching off of corner A. So sliding set squares. That's my picture plane. I'll just extend that on. Okay. So that's the position for my picture plane. Okay. Now we want to find the ground line and horizon line, so they're going to be parallel to that down here. So sliding set squares. Just to show 90 degrees there. So sliding set squares, I'm going to out here first of all. We'll draw our horizon line. Sorry, that moved. Okay, and then as it says, it's 105. So I'll measure down 105. Sliding set square again. That's my ground line. Okay, so I have my picture plane, I have my horizon line, and I have my ground line. All right, so I need to locate my vanishing points. So I'm going to go parallel to the side of my plan. So that's a vanishing point, and parallel to this side. That's a vanishing point. So VP1, VP2, and we'll project them down onto my horizon line. Okay, so VP1, VP2. All right. So that is the setup of my question. Now, I just need to start drawing my perspective. Corner A is touching off of the picture plane. Okay, so what I can do then, if corner A is touching the picture plane, is I can use that for my heights. So let's project corner A. Project that down. So this is where I'll be able to take all my heights, okay? So the overall height of the object, so this height here, we've got at 85, okay? And then there's this distance coming down 10. So let's measure 85 and down 10. Okay, and I'll start vanishing stuff now just to get the overall outline of my object. So we've got vanish, vanish. Back to my VP1 and VP2. Okay. And here, that's my viewing point from the spectator. That's where that edge or that side intersects the picture plane. Same on that side. So let's bring them down. Okay, and now I've got the back edge there, back edge there. Okay, so everything will be contained within this space except for this solar panel, okay, which we'll deal with at the end. Okay, right, let's get, so it's this image is essentially what we're trying to create. So I'm going to have that front corner is a solid edge. Same here. That supports. And we've got the back edge there. Right. And the top. And we marked off that distance of 10, which I can now vanish back. And this will also vanish back, but just partially. So I'll just do it lightly for now. Okay. I've got a heavy edge here. Okay, so we're starting to get a bit of a shape on it. Kind of helps to visualize it when we have some of these done. So let's get the main body of the green. So we need to find where that intersects the picture plane. So project it back. And here, project it back. It's the picture plane and project that down. So it's going to be there somewhere, and this one will be here. So I can actually draw that in heavy. All right. It's a nice drawing as you see it, kind of the 3D image of it come to life. Right, I'll vanish this one back and this back. Actually, they'll intersect at that corner. Should I project back? So I didn't even need to bring that one down, but it's fine that we did. There's sometimes multiple ways of solving these. Okay, now, right, we're dealing with the windows now. Okay, so the heights for these windows we've been given. All right, there's two ways we could do it. We could measure all those heights on this edge, which we already have, because that's a height line, and then vanish them back onto an edge, and vanish them across the page. Do that, or we could create a new height line, because this surface, this dashed line, contains all of those windows. So we could bring that forward, have a new height line, and bring it down. Okay. Either will get you to marks. I think that this is actually going to be quicker because there's going to be less vanishing of lines as we go back. So I'm actually going to project this forward onto my picture plane. Drop that down. Okay, so that's going to be my height line. Okay, and I've got multiple heights here. So we've got 15, 20, 10, and then there's another one there. So let's measure them. So we've got 15, there's 20 on top of that, there's 10 on top of that, All right. We also have this big window is 25 and 35. So let's go measure 25 and 35. 35. So all those heights are measured off there. Okay, so if I vanish them back, they'll be vanishing along that surface. So let's go to our windows. So I marked them off. Just trying to find a place that I can put this. It's out of the way, but of use. I'll leave it there. Okay, so I marked off the position of all of these windows along that hidden detail line. So they're all there. So I need to find where they intersect the picture plane. So bring it back. Okay, so that's where they're hitting the picture plane. Now let's start with this first window. Okay, so it's in this position. So I brought them down. I'm just going to bring all of those down. So we got, that's the first window. It's going to be somewhere along there. Next window, edge will be there and there. And there's a gap to a final window again. And there's the final window. Okay, so we have the position now for each one of those 1, 2, 3 windows. Okay, heights of the windows I've got here. As I said, I could have vanished them back, found the edge, vanished them, but I just prefer this way. So we've got the up 15, so that's my first window, and I'll vanish it back, and that's the first 2 windows are at that height. So here and here, both are at that height. Okay, I'm going up 20, so that was my mark of 20. And the first window is that height. So just to show the projection lines all the way back to the vanishing point. Okay, but that's the position of my first window. And then the next one then was just show that again. Down here is just 10 above it. So that was my mark 10 above it. Finish them back and I'll show the height of that one. Okay, and then we had this big window, which was 20 and 30, 25 and 35, which I marked off also. So bring them back. We got there, and my 35 was there. It's great. So it's all starting to come together. Okay. Great. So what's left? What's left? We've got our solar panel. Okay. I'm just going to find the edge of that solar panel. Actually, no. We'll do our construction for our auxiliary vanishing point. Okay. So they specifically say we have to use an auxiliary vanishing point to solve this. Okay. Which is fine. Okay, now we need to just figure out what side we want to do it on. So if I was standing at this object and now if I was looking in this direction, I would just see a surface sloping away from me. Okay, so I wouldn't see that angle of 15 degrees. If I walked in around here and looked in, I would see that angle sloping. Okay, I would see the 15 degrees created there. So this is the side that I'm going to do my construction on. So let's measure from my spectator an angle of 15 degrees. Okay, so what we're essentially doing is, I know this is 30, but what we're doing is we're folding down that auxiliary vanishing, or the construction for the auxiliary vanishing point so we can get a height. So there's my 15 degrees. Okay, and it's a right angle triangle. It's always a right angle triangle. So right angle there, and we have it. Okay, so that's the height for my auxiliary vanishing point. Okay, it's a height above VP2. Okay, so remember that's what we're doing. We're folding it down. So it's a 90-degree triangle, and it's a height above VP2. So let's just put in my 90-degree symbol. Let's get that height then. And we're going to step it off above VP2. Okay, we do not go across here to VP1. It's always on the VP2 side. All right, so that's my auxiliary vanishing point. Okay, so we're going to use that for these sloping surfaces. All right, now we need to just find the position of the solar panels. So the solar panel, we have it here on that edge. Let's bring it back to my spectator on this side. Bring it back to my spectator, and we'll need that back corner C as well. Bring it back to my spectator. Okay, and let's bring them down. Okay, so here's it on the edge. On the edge there. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our auxiliary vanishing point from there. Okay, so that's the sloping lines. Okay, and we don't know where they end, so we need to see C hitting the picture plane and bring that down. Should have brought that down already. All right, so this bottom edge resting on the top of the object, right, that or of the laundrette. Okay, that's a horizontal line, so that goes back to our VP as normal. So here we have the bottom edge of it. Okay, and I've brought down C, so C is up to that height. My auxiliary heavy there. And now the top edge is also a horizontal line, so that's going to go to VP. And now I can finish off the other side. Okay, so that is my solar panel. Now we can't forget we've got top edges of my laundrette that we need to finish off also. Okay, don't forget those things. Always go back and check if we got all the details in every line that needs to be heavy, that it's in heavy. All right, I'll double check it against my image. Windows in. Oh, we forgot here, this line. Okay, so I'll put that in heavy also. It's like a frame. Okay, so that is part B completed. All right, finally, part C. On your perspective drawing, determine and indicate the height of point C above the horizontal plane. So that's like my height line again. Okay, I used the height line there, so I projected everything out. Okay, so I could take heights. Now we don't know the height of it, but we'll project it out. Send it out there onto my picture plane, bring it down, and we can vanish through point C. Okay, so here's point C. We can vanish through onto that height line. Okay, I could also vanish it forward, but that'll just be on top of the drawing. So let's do it here. So, see there, project it through onto my picture plane. All right, let's bring it down. All right, so that's it touching the horizontal plane. Now we just need to find the height of it. So I can project from the VP through onto that line. So right there. Okay. Height of that, I have that at 98. Okay, so we need to indicate that then as well. So indicate it. That's 98. Okay, so that was a pretty standard perspective question. Nice one there again on the 2025 paper, which all in all was a very nice paper.